person who shall come in contact of this oil, that person shall come with a testimony.
I receive.
Using the angel Gabriel. Anyone who shall use the oil shall be delivered of whatsoever situation they're passing through. For the first time ever, there is a mixture inside of this oil called alabaster oil.
Pre-order your Angel of Gabriel anointed oils now on Yahweh.io.
Shalom, shalom, dear viewers. This evening I'm coming to you again with another Christian news. You know, today people misbehave and call the name of God. The major prophet in Africa, after he was bailed 1 week ago on conditions that he will not leave the country, the man have escaped. My point is not, he's giving his points for why he had to leave the country, but the question we need to ask, how did they manage to leave the country without their passports, without any document? How did they manage to leave the country? In this video, you will hear from the government of South Africa, and you hear a public address that Bushiri just made to his viewers, or to his followers, to his Christians, because he has Christians, though Christians belong to Christ. Please leave your comment. Tell me, how did the man manage to leave the country? And tell me whether this man that always tell people that they should remain connected to God, why is it that now, while escaping, he did not inform his members? And they are there busy insulting us. Some say Bushiri na my papa. Bushiri is my God. Maybe I will put it somewhere you people will see. Somebody say Bushiri is my God. Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Please watch and tell me your comments.
Because while the Hawks are still trying to authenticate and verify reports into Prophet Bushiri and his wife skipping the country, Malawi's authorities are dismissing speculation that they offered the couple a ride on President Lazarus Chakwera's plane. The Bushiris have contravened their bail conditions as they are not allowed to travel outside of South Africa. Last week, the couple was granted bail of 200,000 rand each. They're facing charges of theft, money laundering and fraud. This is in connection with the alleged 100 million rand investment scheme. So to discuss this now, we're joined by Gospel Kazakau, who is the Information Minister and Government Spokesperson. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Gospel, and for your insights. I mean, we just heard now from one of the journalists in Malawi, Gold Matonga, saying that unfortunately government has been muted in regards to the response. Would you say that's the case?
Thank you very much to having this opportunity to speak to me. May I have your question again? It wasn't very clear.
So you've been criticized by journalists in your country. We just had a conversation with him saying that government has been rather muted. You've been silent on what has happened subsequently with Prophet Bushiri and his wife illegally leaving South Africa to Malawi. Is that the case? Are you guys silent on the matter?
We are not silent on the matter. You must know that this is a government, and a very, very serious government. We usually do not respond to matters that are just in the media. So there hasn't been any formal request from anybody. There has not been any request from the South African government, for example. We have not received any communication. We also have not heard anything from Prophet Bushiri. So we can't just respond to matters that have not come to our official desk. We needed to be moved for us to probably indicate our position.
Well then, Gospel, let's take a step back then. Are you aware that Prophet Bushiri and his wife are indeed in Malawi?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so that now that you're aware, the fact that they are there, obviously violating their conditions of bail from South Africa perspective, this must be a diplomatic nightmare, one that I'm sure as a government you do not need.
Yeah, we are aware that they are here, and we do not have very fine details of what is going on with his case in South Africa, because the South African government has not made any contact with us regarding how it is dealing with Prophet Bushiri. We can only move, or we can only react if we are officially and formally contacted as government. That's how things are. We must follow procedure. We can't just be responding to matters in the media. What if we are responding to fake news, for example? So at the moment, there's almost nothing that we can do apart from waiting to hearing from any of the concerned parties. Yeah. Let me also mention one thing that probably we can respond, though it has not come to us formally, but this is coming out very, very strongly. There are allegations that President Lazarus Chakwera brought Prophet Bushiri into Malawi. That is not true. That cannot happen. It will never happen. President Lazarus Chakwera is one of the very, very few honest presidents remaining in this world. Actually, he belongs to an endangered species of presidents in Malawi.
Then, Gospel, are you aware how the Prophet and his wife managed to get into the country? If you're saying there's no ways that the president, they got into the country from the president's private jet, do you know how he managed to get into Malawi?
We don't know. We don't know. We don't know how he got into Malawi. You must know that he was living in South Africa. He started his journey from South Africa. Possibly, we also have to be asking the South African authorities how he managed to come into Malawi. So we do not know. But that he joined the president, no. In fact, Bushiri was in this country 2 days ago. That was somewhere around Wednesday. And the president came into this country some wee hours of today. So there's nothing of that sort. And this is not politics. This is not PR. The president cannot do that and will never do that. We are a very honest government. We also have to know that we are trying as much as possible to grow our relationship with South Africa. We look at South Africa as our partner. We look at South Africa as our trading partner. And so many things that we think that we can create a relationship that both of us can benefit from. So some of these things, they are not here nor there.
Yeah. Well, then, Gospel, let's do this. Let's not go on media speculation. Let us, you and I, be able to clarify some of these rumors and speculations that are in the air regarding Prophet Bushiri as well as his wife, Mary. You're saying that you do not know how we managed to get into Malawi. You're saying that, indeed, you and South Africa are partners. So then in the form of actually solidifying this partnership, the two countries do share this extradition treaty. Should the government come to you and say, Gospel, as the Malawian government, we need you to be able to hand this man over so that indeed he can have his day in court. Is the government up and willing to do so?
We have not received any request. We'll be able to indicate or say our position when we have received that request.
But are you open to it as a government? I mean, you're saying that we are partners as South Africa. We are transparent in terms of your need to build this partnership. Should that need arise, should the government contact you and say, we need this man to have his day in court, can you bring him back to the country, or are we able to pick up this man from Malawi to bring him back to South Africa? Are you open for that conversation?
It is very prudent for us to wait until that contact has been made to this government. Right now, there's absolutely nothing that we can talk about. Let's wait until the South African government contacts us. We're a government, and then we cannot just be doing things haphazardly without following procedures. We are a government that follow a procedure. So let's wait for your government or South African government to get in touch with us. Certainly we will respond. We will respond. At the moment, we can't say anything because
they haven't contacted you. Okay, so I'm going to read out something for you, Gospel, and I mean, this might just also come as a surprise for you, but our Minister of Justice, Ronald Lamola, has just literally sent out this tweet. Malawi is a signatory of the SADC protocol and other legal instruments on extraditions. We will not hesitate to invoke these provisions and instruments to assist law enforcement agencies to extradite fugitives of justice. This tweet is coming in from our Minister of Justice. Has the ministry contacted you in any way aware? I mean, they're sending this tweet out. Has they communicated formally with you?
No.
And you're still waiting for that formal communication?
Yes, and that's not a communication. It's just a declaration. We are here. We are in Malawi. We have channels of communication. South African government is our friend. We respect it. We look at it with very high value. And certainly, if they are going to make any contact with us, we are going to respond accordingly.
Yeah.
At the moment, there hasn't been any contact, and there's absolutely nothing that we can do about it.
Sure. Let me ask you this thing, Gospel. The government of Malawi, have they made contact with the Bushiris just to almost attain or ascertain how they got there in the first place? And also, what are they doing in Malawi?
Come again? Can you come again?
Has the government of Malawi made any contact with the Bushiri just to understand what are they doing in Malawi? How did they get to Malawi? And where to from here? Have you contacted the Bushiris?
No, we have not contacted the Prophet Bushiri at the moment. Certainly we will be, but at the moment we have not been in touch with him, and neither has he been in touch with the government of Malawi. Yeah. But we know he's around. He's in Malawi. That I can confirm.
Do you know where in Malawi though he is? Are you aware of his whereabouts in the country?
He's a citizen of Malawi. He can be anywhere in this republic. He could be in Lilongwe, he could be in Blantyre, he could be in Zomba. But what I can assure you, he is in Malawi. At the moment, I wouldn't know. But normally he would stay in Blantyre. Sometimes he stayed in Lilongwe. Sometimes he would stay in his region, in the northern region. But what I know is, what we know is in Malawi. But to be very specific where he is, I think that we can do later. But we know he is in Malawi, and we can confirm. You might also want to know that Prophet Bushiri is one of the citizens, so many citizens that live or stay in South Africa. And he's not going to be the first citizen to be needed or to be wanted and being questioned using the laws. The way this issue is being put, it's like something very, very different. He's one of our citizens based in South Africa. Now, he is in this country, and we are not hiding about that. What we are saying here is, let us have formal and official contact. We know there are treaties, we know there are agreements, we know so many things that bind us together as from South Africa, but we would not be dealing with these things in a very informal way. Yeah. We need to be formal, we need to be administratively correct, and we need to follow all the procedures so that we are seen to be doing the right things. And we will not be reacting just to media reports. These days, media is also dominated by fake news. As a government, we don't want to be on the wrong foot of news. Once that is done, certainly we will be able to respond.
Well, Gospel, I mean, it sounds like what you're waiting for right now is the government of South Africa to actually make contact with you formally so that you are able indeed to get that ball rolling. Completely understood from that. And one wonders where is South Africa in response to this measure. But we're going to leave it there for this evening. That is Gospel Kazako, who is an information minister and government spokesperson. You heard it here. They're waiting for government in South Africa to actually make a move.
Welcome back. We start with our breaking news. Self-proclaimed prophet Shepherd Bushiri has left the country. He says in a statement that he and his wife temporarily left for Malawi due to safety concerns. He says they will only avail themselves once there's an agreement to give him a fair, just and impartial trial. The pair, or rather, charges of fraud, theft and money laundering and are currently out on bail. Our reporter Tsehoha Moahi has more on this. She's been following the Bushiri details for some time now. Now, Tseho, when you were in court and Bushiri and Mary were given that bail, were granted the bail, what were the bail conditions? How are they out of the country?
Well, good morning, Masifo. So this is very shocking news indeed, because their bail conditions actually specify that they need to report to the nearest police station Monday and Friday between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. The magistrate also mentioning that they aren't allowed to travel outside the borders of South Africa until their case is finalized, and that all travel documents need to be handed over to the NPA and to the investigating officers. So it is quite shocking that they have now decided to leave the country. I mean, in his statement, he mentions how there are certain things that he would like for the South African government to promise them as a couple. So this is, of course, Shepherd Bushiri and his wife, Mary. He mentions that there are stuff that he would like for the South African government to actually promise them, and then they will be able to come back into the country. So it really is quite shocking that they were able to do this. But, I mean, according to their bail conditions, Masifo, they were allowed to travel between Gauteng and the Northwest province, because they've got property in the Northwest and they live there at times. So those are only two provinces that they were allowed to travel to. So them being able to actually leave Malawi, leave for Malawi rather, is quite questionable as to how did it happen if all their travel documents were expected to be with the investigating officers.
And it also speaks to a defiant Shepherd Bushiri and his wife Mary, but also it speaks to South Africa and how, you know, we seemingly a joke in terms of people being able to leave the country even though they're not supposed to. Have you spoken to the National Prosecuting Authority, for instance?
I did indeed. I spoke to the NPA's Lumka. She gave us details about, she says actually that she was not even aware that this had actually happened, because they're supposed to report to the police officers and to the police station. So she says that they are currently in conversation with the Hawks and also with the NPA about what exactly could have happened, and they're just trying to get information about what, how did this actually happen, that they were able to leave the country without the police knowing about their whereabouts.
And of course, this seems like a strategic move by the Bushiris. Does South Africa, for instance, have some sort of law that allows us to go extradite, people accused of crimes here in Malawi?
It does not seem like it, Masifo. I mean, when I went through some of the laws concerning the extradition, I saw that we do not have a treaty, an extradition treaty with Malawi. So, as you mentioned, it does seem rather strategic that they would go back to their home country. I mean, they were told not to leave the borders of South Africa, and now this is what they have done. And that then means that we could not see them for quite some time. They could stay in Malawi for as long as they want to stay there, because we do not, it does not seem that we've got that extradition treaty with that particular country. And Masifo, also speaking to the lawyer, I spoke to Terence Baloyi, who is the lawyer for Bushiri and Mary and Shepherd Bushiri, and he mentioned to me that it is what is written in that particular Facebook post. However, Ephraim, who is also a spokesperson for the Bushiri couple, I asked him if it's true that the self-proclaimed prophet and his wife are back in Malawi, and his response was, it's true. So we know that this is now currently what has happened, but it does seem that because of that particular agreement that South Africa has with Malawi, doesn't have with Malawi, so to speak, then we might not see this particular couple for quite some time. They may decide to stay in Malawi.
Now, of course, in this statement that Shepherd Bushiri released, he mentions quite a few things, demands really, but we'll talk about all the demands later. The first one is about the police officers who've been investigating Shepherd Bushiri and his wife Mary, and you've been privy to some court documents, charge sheets, for instance. Does the couple ever mention anything about feeling in danger because of police officers that are involved in investigating them?
Not at all. I mean, with the affidavits that were read out in court, there was no point where they actually said that they fear for their lives if they were to be released on bail, and they would actually like for certain things to happen if they were released on bail. But we do understand that he's also mentioning in that particular statement, Masifo, that that there are cases that have been ongoing against him and his wife since 2019 rather, and they have not been finalized. So he does say that he now say that there are some officers that he's apparently afraid of, and they've apparently threatened him and his wife, but we have heard nothing of it. This was the first time that we've heard about this particular incident.
Well, thank you very much, Tsohajo Moahi, my colleague and reporter who's been covering the Bushiris and their court cases for some time now.
And all people who have stood with us in all the times we have faced different injustices while I was in South Africa. All right, a short background. For those of you it's the first time to come across to this story. My name is Prophet Shepherd Bushiri, a leader of the Enlightened Christian Gathering Church that is currently in more than 70 countries in the world. And according to our recent census, we have recorded about 7.8 million people who have registered online as members globally, and about 3.2 million people have registered as members in South Africa alone. I went to South Africa in 2015, where, among others, I have a ministry that I was running, and I'm still running until now. And also, I'm a businessman who do different businesses. And when I came to South Africa, our ministry grew rapidly. And because of that, we have, I can say, both positive side of it and negative side of it. Yeah, being a young black person, having success has attracted different attractions, and some of them are positive and some of them are negative. But that's a story of another day. But the main issue I want to address today is I am currently in Malawi. I came here the night of Wednesday this week. I came here for a few reasons. As we are all aware, and that I have got cases in South Africa that I have to answer. And as I promised, that I do not want to abscond from any trial in South Africa, and I will not, because it's a wish of every person to have a fair trial and to have the innocence proved before courts. I believe in the law, and I'm a law-abiding citizen. But the events that have been happening in South Africa are so much uncalled for, and I can call that I can say that there are a lot of injustices that have been happening in regards to my constitutional rights as a human being. As I said in the background of all the events, in 2017-18, I had a lot of problems with some people who were coming to me in the name of law enforcement, or let me say police officers who were looking for money, to extort money from me. These people gave me tough time to extort money from me, and I opened cases against them with the IP department in 2018 in South Africa. IP department is a department that investigates corrupt police officers, among other duties they have. In 2018, I also reported these people to the National Commission of Police. I reported this issue. After reporting to him, he referred me to the former Minister of Intelligence, Minister Bongo. He also referred me to Minister Bongo. He called the head of intelligence, his name was Fraser at that time, to hear my case. Not only that, I am told that there was General Matakata in South Africa who was informed of this issue. In 2018, when this thing was not being done, we went to the Inspector General of Intelligence as well to report this matter, that there are people who want money from me, and they're saying if I don't give them money, I will be arrested and I'll create so many cases against me. When these things were not being addressed, I thought of coming to Malawi in 2018 to involve human rights groups. And the human rights groups in Malawi wrote the South African Rights Commission, Human Rights Commission, where they addressed them that the prophet in your country is going through a lot of injustices and threats. These threats continued to a level whereby in 2018 I had to, for the safety of my kids, send my kids back home to Malawi. And as I'm speaking to you, they've been here since 2018. At that time, one of my child was 4 years and one was 6. But because of the threats I was getting from these people in exchange of money and or arrests, I had to send my kids to Malawi, though they were very young. I had to send them to Malawi for safety reasons. As I've said, I informed a lot of agencies in South Africa, including the National Commission, the Minister, the IPD department that opened the case against them. The human rights groups in Malawi wrote the South African Human Rights Commission, and the South African Human Rights Commission also wrote the judge president of the Hawks, informing him, informing the office what I was going through. That is in 2018. Shockingly, in 2019, the same group of police officers I had opened cases against with IPID, they came to arrest me. I felt unfair and injustice because I have a case against them, and them to have a case against me, I thought they would excuse themselves from this case and have an independent group of investigating officers carry the case. But this did not happen. They arrested me and my wife over buying a private jet. They claim it was money laundering. And we were arrested for claims of money laundering. Of course, though, eventually in the court indictment, there was no money laundering. They attached my private jet on money laundering issues, even though eventually they have removed the money laundering case in the court indictment. And I wonder, why are they still holding my private jet if it was money laundering case that they were holding my private jet? Eventually they changed the case to contravention of foreign exchange, which according to me, the things they claimed applies to someone who is a South African citizen. I did not buy a private jet as a South African citizen. I was a foreigner at that time and did not hold any permanent residence in South Africa. As such, the act they mentioned did not apply to me as a foreigner who bought a private jet. More importantly, that I provided with the courts how I obtained the money and how I made the money. And having said that, these same police officers were still on me, and I had a lot of people coming to me to claim they've been sent by these 5 police officers, of which I have the evidences, and I presented the evidences before, even to the judge president of the Hawks. I also presented these evidences to say these people are making up cases against me, and all the and I presented the evidences before, even to the. I feel my life is not safe in South Africa. So many times I've had attempts of assassinations. I feel my life and my wife's life is not safe. I wouldn't want to die while my name is not cleared. This is the reason why I decided to come to Malawi. After all the attempts I've mentioned, that I tried all those attempts to my power and my strength to be heard by all relevant authorities in South Africa. I was not heard. And this is why I'm in Malawi. I have arrived in Malawi, as I said, Wednesday night, and I'm here right now in Malawi. Unfortunately, our president in Malawi left for South Africa the day I had arrived the following morning, so I have not had any moment to discuss this issue with my government. We are thinking, we have made a decision on Monday to formally approach and communicate with the government of Malawi on the concerns I'm about to mention now, that the government of Malawi should help in raising up these issues that I want to raise. As I've said, I arrived on Wednesday. I have not yet met any government official in Malawi. I haven't communicated to any government official. As I said, the president was away, and we are communicating formally to the government of Malawi on Monday on the following issues. 1, I am in Malawi, not running away from any trial in South Africa. If I wanted to run away, I couldn't have come to Malawi, and I couldn't have announced that I'm in Malawi. Running away, you go in a country where you don't tell people where you are. Right now, I'm informing the whole world that I'm in Malawi, and I'm here in Malawi because I'm a citizen of this country. Therefore, I have come to seek for my government intervention over the following issues I'm going through in South Africa. One, that my safety in South Africa is not okay. I am seeking my safety to be considered, that the government of South Africa should assure me of my safety, as I have said that my safety is not okay. I have opened a case where I'm looking forward to have feedback from the government, whether the people have been arrested or anything has been done to the people who wanted to kill me in South Africa. In Santon, until now, I'm not being communicated. I also feel, as a second point, that there's a conflict of interest. I open cases against these people who all the times are the ones who are arresting me. And I feel that there's injustice. I can't have a fair trial in such regard, in such cases, where same people I opened cases prior to them arresting me are the same people who are coming after me. One would wonder, in South Africa, are they the only police officers that the government of South Africa has? Can the South African government have a different independent group of police officers who can investigate independently, who have got no conflict of interest? These are issues that are really concerning me, because I want, as any person, to have a fair trial. I've come to Malawi to lodge these concerns, and I hope to do that on Monday, that the Malawi government should intervene for my safety in South Africa. So I am partially, temporarily in Malawi to lodge these serious concerns to the government of Malawi, that they should help me as their citizen, that they should talk with their fellow counterparts in South Africa and communicate these issues, more especially for my safety. I would not want to die while I have not cleared my name. I would want, it's to the interest of every person to have a fair trial. And I hope I will not have a fair trial in South Africa. To make matters worse, one of the investigating officers who is investigating me on immigration issues was arrested on corruption cases. As I'm speaking right now, he's arrested and is part of the team of the investigating officers investigating my case. This is to show you how much my statement means to you, and I'm telling you that there's been so much extortion issues to get hold of me, and I feel there's vengeance against me. This is why all these cases are being opened against me. So I'm calling for that the justice system of South Africa should look on these matters seriously. I've also instructed my lawyers that on Monday they should make an urgent application in the courts of South Africa that my bail must not be revoked, as I've come here only to seek for intervention of the government of Malawi, that they should consider these issues as they will lead to fair trial. To also make a statement on that, I was under the scrutiny of South African law authorities in South Africa, and on Monday I'll be subjecting myself as well to the Malawi law enforcement. Whilst I'm here in Malawi, that I'm here, and in case of anything, I'll be also subjecting myself to the law enforcement agencies here in Malawi, as I'll be presenting my concerns to the government of Malawi that I am still under the law, and I'm putting myself as well on Monday under the law. I'm not here to run away from trial. As I said, I would want to have this trial be done, but I don't think there will be fairness in this trial if these issues are not considered. Right? So this is the reason why I want to address the general public that I'm in Malawi. I'm calling for fairness to my trial. I want the justice system of South Africa. I believe in the law system of South Africa and the justice system of South Africa, and I believe that the justice system of South Africa can appoint an independent group of investigating officers who are not implicated, because I opened cases against them prior to them opening cases against me. And I think and feel I can't have a fair trial. Another thing, part of my concern that I want to raise, if the South Africa justice system can also look at this matter, because part of my concern, being a black person, being investigated by these 5 white police officers, having about 3 white prosecutors, and having a white judge, I don't think I'm going to have a fair trial. I want this also to be looked upon, that there is a fair trial that we are going through. So I'm in Malawi right now, not to abscond from any trial, and I'm not running away. I've not sold any property in South Africa. I have not exchanged any company. I have not transferred any money from any of my accounts out of the country. I have not changed anything. Everything remains as it is in South Africa. But I'm here to seek for my government intervention, of which I believe, when I communicate to them officially on Monday, I believe they will intervene as their citizen to make sure that the South Africa government intervenes on these issues, that I have a fair trial. With these words, I would also like to raise a point that I obtained a permanent residence in South Africa legally. I applied through the South African embassy here in Malawi, which after 4 months, I was told I qualified for the permanent resident. I got it legally, and unfortunately, to show you how desperate these 5 investigating officers they can go. They are trying right now to push immigration to remove my permanent residence. What does that tell you?
You are watching Prophetic Channel.
That they still want to revoke my PR, claiming I should do representation before the Minister of Immigration, where I'm supposed to go and do representations how I got my PR. Well, that's okay. I would do that. But how would I do representation to the minister who has already taken a side? We all heard the Minister of Immigration in South Africa making statements against me, xenophobic statements against me 2 weeks ago when I was arrested. So how would I make a representation before that minister? Is this justice? This is why I'm in Malawi currently, to present my case to say, can the government of Malawi not allow the citizen of the country, or their citizens or other citizens, not to go through such type of injustice? This is injustice, and I'm calling for Malawi government to intervene to make sure that I have got a fair trial in South Africa. This is why I'll be addressing and presenting myself before the justice system of also Malawi, before the law enforcement of Malawi on Monday, to say I'm here, I'm not running away. This is my address. I stay here in case they want me, but all I want is fairness in this trial. I am not running away, and I can't do that because I want to see justice in my trial. With these words, thank you so much for listening to my address. I had to do this. I had to come to Malawi to make this address because as part of my bail conditions in South Africa, they said I should not comment anything. I should not say anything. What does that tell you? I should not say anything. I should not comment anything. Now, am I having my rights? I shouldn't say anything. We have got human rights, and one of the rights is, freedom to speech and expression. I can't express myself. I can't express my feeling over this case because they said I should not say anything as a bail condition. One of the bail conditions which is so and greatly criticized judicially is that they said I must not directly or indirectly be in touch or communicate or talk to any state witness. Well, I have no problem with that, but who is that state witness? They never told me who is the state witness. Now, you tell me if I'm in South Africa, if I talk to my driver, do I know? Maybe he's a state witness. If I talk to my neighbor, do I know? Maybe he's a state witness. This is why I had to leave the country, because I don't know who is a state witness. Because one of the bail conditions, I must not talk to any state witness which is anonymous. Now, how would I live in the country? What about my pastors? Maybe they're state witnesses. What about my leaders? What about my church members? I talk to people. I'm a public figure. I talk to everyone else. I speak to everyone else. So for my safety, I am in Malawi right now, and these people, they have tortured my life, tormented my life. I informed all, as I said, law agencies in South Africa, all relevant authorities, and nothing has been done. So I'm back home to inform my government to look at it that I have a fair trial in South Africa. I hope my government will listen to my formal communication and to me, as I'm not yet in touch with my government. They were away. When I arrived here, they were not in the country. I hope this communication is gonna get into the knowledge of my government, and my government is gonna take it up to make sure I have got a fair trial in South Africa. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.